Okay, friends, all of you, welcome to this lecture on political obligation lecture series. And friends, today's lecture is titled like this for your reference: Political Obligation from Antigon versus Creon in Sophocles 2, Plato, Socrates in Crito and Apology. And friends, you know that Sophocles was an ancient Greek playwright whose famous book Antigon we will refer in this lecture on political obligation. There are two characters, Antigon and Creon, in the play. And we also refer Plato's two books, Crito and Apology, for making sense of the idea, political theory titled Political Obligation. And friends, political obligation is a very elusive term in the political science or political theory classrooms. And people find it very difficult to understand what does it exactly mean to say political obligation. Is it something simply obeying laws, or do we have some moral responsibility towards the idea called state and society? So people are polarized on this question. Somebody say it is simply obeying laws, while others will tell you that you have certain moral obligations to society and the state, and some yet others will argue that you don't owe anything to society, so you need not to obey laws. You are not obliged to the society at all. So opinions are being polarized, friends. But friends, this lecture I will try to tell you that why political obligation is important and why you should need to develop some kind of understanding about political obligation. So this is in a sense a lecture on the fundamentals of political obligation. So friends, you see, in recent days, couple of days ago, Shahida Kamal, the honorable member of Women's Commission in Kerala, she claimed that she is a doctorate. But when investigated, we came to know that her PhD was from a fake university. That on Facebook, sometimes ago, she posted that she got a PhD from a particular university. But when her PhD was mired under controversy in recent time, again on Facebook Live, she claimed that she got DLit, not PhD. It was further found that, friends, she got it from the university, which was accused of awarding PhD to so many people in the state on paying fee. Look, people are buying PhD. But friends, Shahida Kamal was found listing her educational qualifications on the website of the Women's Commission. And Women's Commission is a constitutional body funded by taxpayers' money. And it was said that she was reportedly holding just a pre-degree, because as media reports is to be believed, that she didn't complete her BCom studies during her college life. But she has no indignity in openly showing her fake PhD degree in public platform like the website of a constitutional body like Women's Commission. Look, a PhD is a product of a cumbersome and very difficult process. And it is not that easy to get a PhD from a reputed Indian university. But this woman, that is Shahida Kamal, friends, you might have come across the news from the media reports. She has no conscience in publicly boasting about a fake PhD from a fake university, if to believe media reports. And I too report all these, things referring to media reports. I don't have personal data. I didn't collect anything from field. I just report what media said in this lecture for your reference. After coming through all these, events related to to her fake PhD controversies, friends, we have to ask a question. What is that? The question is like this: what is her morality, and where is her obligation to the society? What is her obligation to the society? She is supposed to show certain values in life, and not only she is, a private person, she is holding a public post. She is possessing a public post. And what is her, values, such as integrity, personal integrity, high morality, self-respect, and above all, sensitivity to social issues. So we are in a way obliged to the society, no matter if you are a public person or a private person. Doesn't matter whether you belong to your home or whether you belong to a public offices. You are expected to, show certain kind of obligations to the societies, a high morality. You look another incident in the sidelines of the same, fake PhD controversy. Media has reported another thing. I happen to see this from a primetime debate in Asianet News that Honorable Chief Minister of Kerala, Mr. Pinarayi Vijayan, as reported by media, claims only PUC, I think pre-university certificate, something equivalent to your plus 2 degree, PUC. That he claims that his educational qualification is PUC. It is something equivalent, as I told you, to today's plus 2 certificate. We know that, but all of us know that he studied at Government Brennan College, right? You might have come across the recent controversy. And he was a student of the economics department. But the point is that he didn't finish the course. He didn't pass the examination. And you see, but in his affidavit to the election commission, while he appeared as, candidate to the assembly election, he submitted an affidavit. In the affidavit, it is stated that he is just PUC. But we know that he could have claimed in the public life that I am a BA. He could have claimed, because all of us know that he studied in Government Brennan College in the economics department for a BA program. But from the affidavit, it is said that he is PUC, but we know that he could have claimed that. But see, friends, he got integrity and a morality, and he has an obligation towards society, and he keeps it along with his public life. Even though all of us know that he was at Government Brennan College in the economics department for a BA program, he never claimed that he was a BA degree. It's an instance of integrity and loyalty to the society, obedience to the laws, and above all, a public morality. Recently, friends, we have came to know that some people like, Akash Tillangeri, right, and Arjun Ayangi were caught in the public eye. And you know why? They were involved in gold smuggling. And Arjun Ayangi has reportedly used a red-colored Maruti Swift car. The registered owner of this car was C. Sajesh. who was unfortunately an area secretary of Chembelore in Kannur. If I am right, if my reference is right, he was an area secretary of Chembelore in Kannur. And you see, he possesses a responsible position in society, and it is associated with the leadership of a ruling party in the state of Kerala. And friends, if you go to the Facebook pages of these people, you will see that they are like celebrities. They are like celebrities. They are zealous Communist Party activists who stand for the cause of the poor people. You can see from their Facebook activities, they stand for the cause of the poor people in the state. You see, friends, they will be boasting their chief minister, Mr. Pinarayi Vijayan, and they will say that chief minister is at their heart. They are his fans, and CPIM will come to power again and again because people in Kerala love CPIM. And so many public activities, they are doing in the digital space. Curiously enough, friends, these people present themselves as if they are always doing amazing things. They are advertising themselves as demigods. They tell you that, they have solutions to almost everything under the sky because the party is with them. And they are standing with the society. On the internet, these people are pretending to be good Samaritans, saviors, emancipators. Just look at their Facebook pages. So many people follow them. I checked their Facebook page for this lecture class and put some data and found that one of them got more than 50,000 followers. Friends, why do people feel the need to become mini celebrities, watched and admired by other people on a daily basis? It's a very interesting question. Why people like this fame? And on broad daylight, they are the internet saints. On internet, they will say they are going to do this and this for the cause of the society. They claim that they live alongside us, alongside all of us. They are with us. There are too many updates on their Facebook activities. But by night, the same people are a part of illegal gold smuggling. Unfortunately, friends, you see, by the fall of night, they have transformed into dacoits, thieves, robbers, rapists, and violate, break all the laws of our land. How can people become saints on broad daylight and asocial and feeble-minded people during night or during the fall of night? Where is their obedience? Where is their loyalty to the society? What is their obligation to the society? What happened to their obligation to the society where we live? Where is their, what happened to their obligation to the land in which they live? Friends, you see, a few days ago, in an interview, I can tell you that, given to Malayalam Manorama Weekly, KPCC President and Kannur Member of Parliament from Kannur, K. Sudhakaran, said that he had beaten up the Chief Minister of Kerala, Mr. Pinarayi Vijayan, and it happened. He claimed that it happened when they were students in Government Brennan College, Talasheri. On a press meet, the Chief Minister of Kerala, Mr. Pinarayi Vijayan, replied to a question of one of the reporters in Thiruvananthapuram. He reacted to Sudhakaran's statement. And Chief Minister, who is in a very responsible position because everybody watched him, he was saying that the Congress leader was just boasting. He said, Chief Minister said, he may have hallucinated about the assault on me. That was the words of Chief Minister as reported by Indian Express. I have checked it for this lecture. And Chief Minister said it with a laugh. And Chief Minister started narrating what happened in that event, which later became very big controversy, as you know. Friends, while making any comment, a person in responsible position of power should be very alert. You see, the wrong messages that these two very important leaders in Kerala have sent to the entire society. Young people who are sitting in this class, like you who are sitting in this class, of course, it gives you a very wrong message. What is it? Oh, yes, you will see that, oh, this is what college life is. Beatings, fight, verbal abuse. And you may think, why should I sit in the classes of Mr. Biju PR? There is no point. Why should I sit? Did you look at the Chief Minister of Kerala? He never attended classes in his BA days in Government Brennan College. And he didn't even pass a BA economics. And he became the Chief Minister. And Sudhakaran became Member of Parliament. Even though he was a campus politician, he didn't attend the classes. He became a minister. He became the president of KPCC. So another implication of this, this is that, friends, you will think, students who sit in this classroom will think that, oh yes, campus politics means attacking. Yeah, campus politics is attacking the opponent, pandemonium, skipping classes, beating enemies. And not, it's for people like you may think that, campus politics is not any ideological engagements on basic issues of the people. So, their college controversies send very wrong messages to people, particularly young people like you. Friends, we have an obligation to the society. That's very important. We have an obligation to the society. We have an obligation to the society and a responsibility towards the society. We have certain duties to fulfill in our social life. We have to respect the social mores and its values. We have to show integrity and obligation to the society. And we are supposed to obey the laws of our land. Do not cheat people and do not act like a fraudster. But friends, we cannot trust people and cannot take them on face value. That is the point. We have to learn from political obligation. We are in no way able to trust anybody in the world. I mean, we cannot take people on what they seem to be. You never trust people on the face value. That is, you are not supposed to take people on what they appear to us. There is something deeper hidden inside them. Here comes the significant question. Political obligation is to have a moral, duty to obey the laws of one's country or the state. Simply, if you say a political obligation is to have a moral duty to obey the laws of one's country. But what if on the one side you will say that I will obey, I will do, and make a lot of people believe you, and the other day you are simply cheating them. So that's why I told you we are not in a position to trust people. So friends, the phrase political obligation belongs to T.H. Green's. T.H. Green was a famous, political philosopher who was an Oxford professor. And T.H. Green's famous lectures on the principles of political obligation. He delivered a lecture in Oxford University in the year between 1879 and 80. 1879 and 80, he delivered this famous speech titled Lectures on the Principles of Political Obligation that later Oxford University has published as a book. The two words from which T.H. Green formed the phrase, that is political obligation. Two words, political, the other word obligation. These words taken separately are old terms, because the word political is very old term. The word obligation, that is duty, is very old terminology in political thinking. But put together, we feel that political obligation is a very modern term. Political obligation is a modern term. But when separated, the word, when you separate the word, that is political, the other side obligation, these are very old words, but put together, we will feel that it's a very recent origin. Of course, it is right. It's a very recent vocabulary. A political science lexicon or a political theory lexicon, political and obligation, or obligation means duty. T.H. Green was apparently thinking that combining them required no elaborate explanation or defense. Why? Political obligation means you have certain political duty, you have certain political duty towards the state. That simply means political obligation. That is what the idea in Green's mind. There was nothing new about the problem Green addressed in his lecture. Simply, we owe certain things to the society we live. That is political obligation. The meaning of that word. Very simple, simply understood. He tried to discover the true ground or justification for obedience to law. That was his concern. Why should we obey the laws? And he was trying to justify the fact that we are all supposed to obey laws. We are all supposed to obey laws. Why? Because it's a priori. It's a priori. You need not to question that point. Why? Because if you are born in a land, you are supposed to obey the laws of that land. So that is called political obligation, and you need not to raise any doubts on that fact. You need not to raise any questions on that, because it's a priori. It's you need not to produce any proof for the fact that you need to obey law or you need to disobey law, because it is accepted that you are supposed to obey the law. You are not supposed to, or you are not supposed to disobey law. You should obey the law of the land. And that is why he was trying to find justification to the word political obligation. And friends, this question which Green raised, why should I obey the law of my land, has produced endless literature in political theory world. It produced endless literature to these questions, that is, why should I obey the law of my land? These literature, that opinions or writings of great philosophers, have polarizing opinion. A number of contemporary political philosophers deny that you need not to obey the law of your land. They simply deny that you are not supposed to obey the law of your land. Many philosophers in contemporary times, they deny the idea of political obligation. Many contemporary political philosophers deny that you need not to, the very idea of political obligation. So you need not to obey the law of your land. Because they have their own justifications. And friends, so that we have to inquire, why should we obey the law of our land? Friends, the history of political philosophy also involves a question about why should we obey the law of our land. We have seen so many themes in political philosophy, and we have come across so many themes in our previous lectures, like justice, equality, liberty, so on and so forth. And political obligation is also one of such themes that people from the ancient world itself inquired, investigated, whether I should obey the law of my land. And ancient societies have their answer. That is what we are going to discuss now. To this question, we will refer two important episodes. One is Antigon, other one is Plato's Socrates. Antigon has an answer, and Plato, Socrates has an answer to this question. What is the question? Why should I obey the law of my lands? Okay, that's called, we call political obligation. And friends, let us go to Sophocles' Antigon. And friends, Antigon is a tragedy. It's a tragedy which was written by Sophocles, ancient playwright Sophocles, around 442 BC. It was written by Sophocles around 442 BC. And there are so many characters, but two characters are very important in our discussion. There are all the characters are important, but in this discussion on political obligation, two characters are very important for our lecture, which I have referred for you by reading Sophocles, Antigon. So the two main characters of the play are Antigon and Creon. Antigon and Creon. And Antigon was the daughter of Oedipus, which you may know the story of Oedipus. And Creon was the king of Thebes. That was a city-state in ancient Greece. Both of the people, Creon and Antigon, both the people have strong and different ideas about what is right thing and what is wrong thing in our life. Both of the persons, that is Creon and Antigon, in the play had their own opinion about what is right thing and what is wrong thing. And the conflict between these two persons first arise that their conflict of opinions first arise in the play when two brothers of Antigon, that is Eteocles and Polynices, turn rivals in that play and are killed in a fight for supremacy. Two brothers, that is Eteocles and Polynices, were killed because each of them fought against the other. That is, brothers fought against each other. And they were killed in the battle. Polynices was a wandering person who was in asylum and who came back to Thebes and attacked Thebes. But he was also a citizen of Thebes, like Eteocles. Eteocles was also a citizen of Thebes, and Eteocles defended Thebes. Polynices attacked Thebes, and King Creon, when they were fighting each other, Creon was the king of Thebes. And after they were killed, Creon ordered that Eteocles will be buried, but he banned the burial of Polynices. Polynices need not be buried, but Eteocles needs to be buried. That was the order of the king of Thebes, Creon. That is the plot line in that story. Drama, play, Antigon. And Creon says, Eteocles defended his country. He was a loyal citizen of Thebes. He defended the land of his gods. Thebes was his land of parents, grandparents, forefathers. It is the place, Thebes was the place where Eteocles lived. It is the place where his ancestors lived. It is the place where he developed language, custom, and rituals. Thebes is the place where he had a religion and he had worshipped gods and he had his gods. He had his religion. Where he got it from? He got it from Thebes. That is his native. That is his land. It is the place where you have all what you have. The costume he had, the food culture he had. So it is his motherland. Thebes is the motherland of Eteocles. It is a fatherland, whichever nomenclature you may use. It is a fatherland or the motherland or the homeland or the ancestral home. Whatever nomenclature you may use, friends. It is the same thing to, the other person, Polyneices. It is the same thing to Polyneices. He was also born here, but took asylum somewhere. It's like Eteocles, he also belongs to this place. And he also is also obliged to Thebes. So this notion of obligation, which was awarded to, Eteocles by Creon, is similar to, for example, if you refer to Israel, it is unique to Israel. That is, Israel is supposed to be the promised land of the people of Israel. It will come one day. It will be the land of their Lord. It is their fatherland. Israeli people, citizens believe, Israel is the fatherland. Who is the father? The Lord, God. It is a land where God created Adam and Eve and given them property, fruits, etc. So Adam and Eve has an obligation to that land. Hence the Israelites. Since Adam and Eve has an obligation to the land of God, that is Israel, all the people who are born Israel is supposed to show certain obligation to Israel. That idea is Creon is saying. That is, since Eteocles and Polyneices was born to Thebes, they have certain obligation, because it is their land, their gods, they had ancestors, forefathers, they had religion, they had a food culture, etc., etc. They all got these things from Thebes. According to Creon, Eteocles defended his god's land, his fatherland, his homeland, his ancestral home from enemies. Who is the enemy here? Polyneices. But Polyneices was also a citizen of Thebes, but he was not a loyal citizen. Instead of defending Thebes, Polyneices attacked Thebes. That's why, Creon says Eteocles was a loyal citizen. He showed loyalty to the nation. So when he dies, Thebes should respect Eteocles by giving him a proper burial. Give him a dignified burial. That is what, Creon ordered. Burial means, in ancient Greece, burial means you have citizenship. And when burial is denied to you, when the state denies burial to you, that means you have no citizenship. That's why when Polyneices was denied burial, he was denied citizenship by Thebes. So, when you are denied burial in ancient Greece, that means it's a disgrace to the family as a whole. It's a sign that you have lost your citizenship. No burial. Burial means you are a traitor. So Polyneices came back from exile to Thebes. He sought to fire the city of his fathers, gods, language, the shrines of his fathers, the shrines of his gods. He set to fire the land, Polyneices. He sought to spread it with the blood. He sought to lead it into slavery. That's what Creon argues against Polyneices. He sought to lead this city into slavery. So Creon ordered, leave him unburied. Leave the body of Polyneices unburied. Let it be a corpse for birds and dogs to eat. Look, the kind of treatment to that dead body, which was ordered by Creon in Sophocles' play Antigon. Let it be a corpse for birds and dogs to eat. Let it be a ghastly sight of shame. He is a traitor. Ordered Creon. This was because, according to the belief of Creon, he needs to protect his ancestral home. He needs to protect his ancestral home. He was in exile somewhere else, and he came back to Thebes. So he was supposed to protect his ancestral home because he was exiled. Even if he was exiled from Thebes, he is bound to the laws of Thebes. He was bound to the laws of Thebes. Why? Because it was his homeland, the land of his gods, the land of his forefathers. Obedience to the laws of the forefathers' land is a great virtue, friends. It's a great virtue according to the ancient Greek belief. If you obey the laws of your forefathers' land, means you are a virtuous person. No matter what, if you agree or disagree, the laws of your land, no matter what it is, you have a responsibility towards the laws of your land. You should protect the integrity of your land, because your land is the land of your father, their fathers, great past. It's the land of your gods, where your mother was born, where your father was born, their parents was born. Friends, this logic is being used by the detractors. For example, the detractors of Aisha Sultana, you may remember, the detractors of Aisha Sultana invoke this logic by way of, invoking UAPA against her. This was the reason why, friends, Taha Fasal and Alan Shuhaib were booked under UAPA, because they disrespect the laws of the land. That's a great virtue. Your great virtue is to respect the laws of your land. You have an obligation. But these people, according to the detractors of these people, be it Taha Fasal or Alan Shuhaib or Aisha Sultana, they were all booked under UAPA. The greatest crime of your land. When you are booked under UAPA, that means you are a traitor. It will bring disrespect to your family. So the detractors stated that, for example, Fasal and Shuhaib, for example, they have circulated banned Maoist pamphlets and books which are against the homeland in which they were born. It is their fatherland. It's their motherland. It's their home. They are not supposed to disobey the laws of their land. They are not supposed to do any kind of activity which will disintegrate their homeland. Friends, it was the same charge being raised against BK16. You may remember BK16. Certain 16 people were booked in 2018 for participating in an event called Bhima Goregaon. I think something like that. Bhima Goregaon. Some 16 people like Anand Tatmunde, Shoma Sen, some academics, some activists like Stan Swami, or poets like Varavara Rao, or lawyers like Sudha Bharadwaj, or researchers like Gautam Navalak, or activists like Rona Wilson. You remember all of these names. If you refer news 2 years before, they were in the limelight because they were all booked under UAPA for charging that they participated in an event which was against the laws of the land, because they are not obliged to the laws of the land. That's why they were all booked under UAPA. And still these laws, this UAPA which were charged against them, not settled. They are still under jail. Because according to the government, they didn't respect the ethos of their homeland. No matter what, if you agree or disagree with the laws of your land, you are supposed to obey the laws. Maybe you are in disagreement, but you are supposed to obey the law of the land, right? So this is, you can see, this is the Creon version of obligation to the laws in the drama Antigon. But Antigon, on the other hand, defiles the order of King Creon. That's very interesting part of this drama by Sophocles, Antigon. That Antigon defies the laws of I mean, the laws of their homeland or the order of the King Creon. Antigon decided to defy Creon's law. And Creon's law is supreme because that is commanded by the king, and there is no law above that. So if you are a citizen of Thebes, you are supposed to obey the order of the king. That's a virtue. But what happened in the play? She simply decided to defy the law of their homeland and defied Creon's law. And she can be justified in a sense. What is that point that, friends, we can justify Antigon's refusal to the order of King Creon? Let us see. An individual has right to reject society's laws. An individual has right to reject society laws. If society's laws amounts to curbing your freedom to perform a personal moral duty, you can defy the laws of your nation. See, the interesting argument goes from the side of Antigon, which Sophocles beautifully presented in that play, that Sophocles was trying to say, if a society's law amounts to curbing your freedom to perform a personal moral duty, you can defy the law of your land. You can consider it with Aisha Sultana or Taha Faisal or Alan Shuhaib or the BK16. You can bring their case in this point, in this version, that if society's laws amounts to curbing your freedom to perform a personal moral duty, a high virtuous duty, you can defy the law of your nation. Because here in this play, giving a proper burial to one who has died is a natural justice. You think this way. No matter how grave the crime, Polyneices may be given a proper burial, but Creon denied a proper burial. That is against natural justice, according to Antigon. And Polyneices was her brother. So Antigon refused to obey the order of Creon. And Antigon's decision to bury Polyneices also arose from a desire to bring honor to her family. Antigon's strong belief in standing up for her family and her religious beliefs that a dead body needs to be buried according to the wishes of the gods. That's natural justice. That's why she refused to obey the law of their land. So when her sister, Antigon's sister, tells her that she should not break the law, Antigon says, I owe a longer allegiance to the dead than to the living. That is what she replied to her sister when she insisted that, Antigon, you should not disobey the law. Antigon was saying, I owe a longer allegiance to the dead than to the living. In that world, I shall abide forever. That is, in the world of the dead, I shall abide forever. According to her belief, all the dead should be treated in the same way. All the people who are dead, that is Polyneices and Eteocles, who are all dead, should be treated equally. You should not discriminate between dead bodies. To Antigon, the law of God is much more important. The law of God is much more important than the law of man. Creon is a man, but God's wishes is that a dead body should be buried properly. That's why I obey the law of the God. That is, a proper burial is a natural justice to a dead body. She repeatedly argues in that play that I owe it to those that are dead, because that is God's world. And that God's world is more important than any ruler. So King Creon was infuriated by her decision to refuse him. So she was ordered in that play, she was also sentenced to be buried alive. The sad side of that, play. You should read that play, friends. And King Creon was infuriated, even though she was to be married to his son Hemon. Creon believed that citizenship means complete obedience to the will of the state. What is citizenship? This obedience to the will of the state. You should obey the law of the land. Hence he sentenced Antigon to the death. So Creon's decision not to allow burial for Polyneices is based on the law of citizenship in Thebes. This was the same across all the city-states in ancient Greece. The Greeks buried their citizens after a battle and considered burial as a sign of recognition of their citizenship. There's an ancient practice in Greek city-states. Here it is important to note that Creon ordered not to bury Polyneices because he felt Polyneices had distanced himself from the people and committed treason. Hence, he should not be treated as a fellow citizen and should not be buried with the customs of their land. Right, but this is a debate between Creon and Antigon in the play of Sophocles, which we can use to understand why should we obey the law of your land. And Antigon has a version, her version, and Creon has his version. And Antigon refused to obey the law of the land, and Creon believed that all the people are obliged to obey the law of the land, no matter what it is. If you agree or disagree, you should obey. And friends, from that version of Creon version and Antigon version, we can look at another perspective about why should we obey the law of your land. Some 100 years later, I think not 100, I think 50 or 60 years later, and another man was born, Socrates. You may remember name of Socrates. Socrates. We know everything about Socrates from the writings of Plato. Socrates was charged with the treason, just like Polyneices and Antigon. Socrates was charged with the treason and he was sentenced to death in BC 399. His official charge was that he corrupted the youth of Athens. He corrupted the youth of Athens. He was disrespecting the gods. According to Plato in his book Apology, the Delphic oracle. Oracle means it is believed that oracle is the voice of the gods that is heard in the city. That is a belief. And the oracle of Delphi declared that Socrates was the wisest man in the world. Plato tells this in the book Apology. Socrates was the wisest man in the world because oracle of Delphi said that. And Socrates believed, but on the other side, Socrates believed, I am ignorant. But he believed that oracle of Delphi is real. So there is a contradiction. What is a contradiction? There is a puzzle. What is it? Socrates says that he is ignorant, but the oracle says that he is knowledgeable. And Socrates also believes that oracle is right. So he decided to resolve this puzzle because he wanted to test whether oracle was right. He wanted to test it because he believes that he is not knowledgeable, he is ignorant. And Socrates every day morning go to the agora where people gather. He started questioning people with the people who have great reputation for wisdom. And he started debates with the people in the street, ancient Athens. And Socrates succeeded again and again in demonstrating that other people's claim about wisdom were wrong. When other people thought themselves that they were wise and knowledgeable, Socrates felt that other people were not as knowledgeable as they claimed. So the debate is going on. In Plato's book Apology, this story is being narrated. And in the end, in the Apology, Plato says that Socrates concluded that his wisdom consisted in one thing. What is his wisdom? His wisdom is that he knows that he knows nothing. That he is aware of his own ignorance. Plato says in Apology that Socrates was aware that he was ignorant. That I am ignorant, which Socrates was aware. But the point was that other people who claimed to have knowledge did not really know what knowledge is. Did not really know what knowledge is. So other people don't know what they really know, but they also don't know the fact that they are ignorant. So Socrates says that other people have double ignorance. Other people have double ignorance. What is the double ignorance? They claim that they know, but Socrates says that they know nothing. And second ignorance is that they don't know that they know nothing. That's why Socrates says that other people have double ignorance, but I have single ignorance. What is my ignorance? That I know nothing, which I know. So Socrates' debate in the ancient Athenian city, which is a small city in the middle of the town, which gathered so many spectators. And in ancient Greece, knowledge was constructed through oratorial skill called rhetoric. There was neither writing nor art as we define it today. So you can go to Agora and speak yourself and people will listen to you. Of course, in the process, Socrates created so many enemies in the ancient Greece. I mean Athens. He created so many enemies because he refuted all other people's arguments, and they were all supposed to be great wise men in the Athenian city-state those days. So in the process, he created so many enemies. So his enemies started to stock charges against the philosopher Socrates. They began to charge him with false allegation, and finally they succeeded in bringing him to the jury. And Socratic trial is very famous, friends. In Apology, Plato talks about Socratic trials. That is very famous trials in the world, where so many juries gathered and they began to listen to what Socrates wanted to say and what detractors of Socrates wanted to say. And in ancient Athens, if a person is convicted of crimes against the state, he was expected to suggest his own punishment. If Socrates is charged with the crime, Socrates should himself suggest what the punishment he is able to suffer. And the jury found that Socrates Socrates committed some crime against the city Athens, so he should be punished. And the jury asked after the trial, after the famous Socratic trials, which Plato talks in the book Apology, the jury asked Socrates, what punishment you wanted? And in the jury, and also the people who are all spectators in that incident, most people expected that Socrates would suggest that I may be deported to some other cities or some other places. But curiously enough, surprising all the people, his enemies also wanted that Socrates be deported to some other places. So, but what Socrates said was that instead of Socrates proposed that I may be given a pension and maintained in the state expense. That is what Socrates said, that I should be given a pension. That is what Socrates said. So it was surprising to everybody. So this enraged many of the jury members, and so they got angry at Socrates, and he received a death sentence. So the sentence was handed on him, And Plato in his book talks about Sandipe's visit to the jail. They were never good, husband and wife. So Plato remembers that Sandipe crying, and unable to see Sandipe's crying, Socrates asked her to leave the jail. So this was all, some sad events in that, book. And, but in that apology, Plato admit that Socrates was afforded an opportunity to escape the prison. Here comes the, question of obligation. Socrates was afforded an opportunity to escape the prison. And friends, even if Socrates was escaped, nobody would chase him, because everybody loved Socrates, because he was a knowledgeable man, and his only charge was that he defeated all his enemies by argument. And his enemies also just wanted that Socrates may be deported from Athens. But Socrates chosen not to escape the prison. Friends, that is a very important point. You have to listen very carefully. Why Socrates chose not to escape from the prison, even though he was given an opportunity to escape execution. Socrates argued, why should I obey the law of Athens? Because the law of Athens said that I should be executed, I should be hanged, I should die. That is the law of the land, and the jury verdict was that, and I should obey that. And Socrates defended, why should I obey the verdict that I may be executed? He was arguing that Athens was my home, and it is a place I choose to live. Therefore, the city had a right to condemn me, punish me, and execute me. So I allow the sentence to be carried out against me, and I am ready to drink a cup of poison, hemlock, which the jailers would give me, and I am prepared to die. I am prepared to die. This is what Socrates said. And Socrates' argument, we may feel very vague. And this vagueness was exposed by Plato in another book called Crito. So far we have talked about Socrates and the trial in the book Apology. And in another book, Plato again narrates the vagueness of Socrates' decision, that he was given an opportunity to escape the verdict of the jury, that he may be executed. But he didn't choose that, because he was saying that I am born in Athens, and the verdict of the jury says that I should die, and I am ready to accept that decision, and I am not going to escape. And in the book Crito, in which Plato talks about this issue, and Crito is an imaginary character in Plato's Crito book, where Socrates is presented as talking to Crito. That is the dialogue. It's a book written in dialogue format. And Socrates is talking to the interlocutor, Crito. And Crito never tries to challenge Socrates, that why Socrates did not choose to escape, why he defended his own death. But friends, while going through Crito, we will feel that the dialogue between Crito and Socrates is one of the most very important discussion in human history about why should we obey the law of our lands. Though this book is full of vagueness about Socrates' defense of his own acceptance of his death, we can find that the debate between Crito and Socrates is one of the finest examples of the question, why should I obey the law of my land? The argument of Socrates falls into four categories. That why should I obey the law of my land? First, Socrates maintains that I have a long residence in Athens, that I have lived in this place. for a long time. That means I have entered into Athens with an agreement. You can imagine like a social contract that I agreed to live in Athens. That is why I am supposed to obey the law of this land, because it is through this agreement that I have opted to, I have chosen to live in Athens. That's an agreement between Athens and me. That's an imaginary agreement that I have opted to live in Athens. So I am obliged to obey the law of Athens, even if that law is against me, because it is my city, just like it is my nation. We say India is my nation. You have a long residence in this place, so you are supposed to obey the law, even if it is against you. Second, Socrates acknowledges that I was born in Athens, so by birth this is my city, and I was nurtured in Athens. I got education from Athens, and all fortunes I got from this Athens. So I owe it to the laws of Athens. So I have gratitude. The city gave me life, so I owe everything to the police. If I disobey, that's a very wrong thing. Even if the law is very wrong, I need not to disobey that wrong law, because it gave me all I have. That's the second point. And third point, Socrates says, why should I obey the law of my land? Disobedience or breaking laws would be kind of a mistreatment of your fellow citizens. Friends, you see, he asked Crito. Crito asked, if we live here without the city's permission, if we leave this place without city's permission, are we mistreating the people whom we should least mistreat? That we are living in a place and we are violating that law of the land, and we are escaping. Does it mean that we are mistreating other people who have obeyed the laws of that land? Because your fellow citizens have obeyed the law which you have violated. Look, friends, it's an interesting point. You know the jewelry magnate Michael Chosky, his nephew and business partner Nirav Modi, Vijay Mallya. These people lived in India. In our land, in your homeland, we have a constitution, so many rights, security provided by the state in India. They have earned all their reputation, their money, they did business all in this land, India, our land, homeland. And one day, once they were found cheating people, once they were found breaking laws of our land, they simply escaped. You see, we were all cheated because the same laws were applied to all of us, which they were also supposed to obey, which we have already obeyed, which they violated. And they have violated and they escaped. You friends, are they traitors? Aren't they traitors? They enjoyed all the protection of the state. Once found lawbreakers, they simply escaped the punishment. And Socrates says, this is unacceptable. You are not only breaking laws, you also cheated your fellow citizens because they have obeyed the law which you have violated. So you are also mistreating your fellow citizen by escaping the prison. That's why I am not choosing to escape. And fourthly, Socrates says, the laws and the state confronting him with this challenge. Do you think it is possible for a city not to be disobeyed if the verdicts of its courts have no force but are nullified and set not by private individuals? Crito. That is, the point is that if you have laws, you should have strong force to enforce laws. If you have a good law, maybe wrong or good, if you have laws, you are also supposed to enforce laws with a strong force. Without a strong force behind it, no law can be enforced. That is what Socrates says. Arguments is fully developed in Crito. Of course, friends, we don't feel that it is a fair thing which Socrates argued. What was his crime? He simply talked to people and proved that they were all ignorant. That was a crime against him, for which he he was sentenced to death by jury through the famous Socratic trial. I think there were 30 juries. But anyway, friends, the debate in Crito between Socrates and his interlocutor Crito has put forward a very important idea that we all have a responsibility to obey the law of our land. So, its dialogue in Crito is a testimony. What is it? You have an obligation. Friends, all of us have an obligation. Commitment to an agreement. We should have a commitment to an agreement that we live in India, for example. So you were born here. So it's a contract between you and your country. So you should have gratitude to your country. You should obey the law of your land. So that is what Plato in his book Crito says that. It is. Crito is the first philosophical exploration of the theory of political obligation, and which existed for centuries. Nobody has ever written such a beautiful book on why should we obey the law of our land. Maybe in Crito, Socrates' argument may seem to be very vague. Not sensible to our modern mind, which is full of consciousness about liberty and right. Maybe it is not digestible to us, but anyway, this book is one of the opening book about the topic we have been discussing: why should we obey the law of our land. And friends, this lecture is coming to a full stop here. Now the floor is open for discussion, friends.